Good morning, everyone, and welcome to all you marine biologist wannabes out there. This is the Intertidal Invertebrate Interview Talk Show, and I'm your host, Carl Biederbeck. We're coming to you live and direct from the Gwen Library at the Oregon State University Hatfield Marine Science Center. And today, we have a very special guest who we will be interviewing today. But first, it's time for an important public service announcement. If you live or work in a tsunami risk zone, know your quickest route to higher ground. Thanks for listening to our public service announcement. And now, we will interview our esteemed special guest, coming to us live and direct from the rocky intertidal shores via webcam. A personal favorite of mine and many others. He's purple, he's shelled, he's crabby, and don't be fooled by his size because he's got one heck of a squeeze. It's Hemigraspis nudus. That's right, my friends. Please give a warm welcome to the purple shore crab. So, hello, Mr. Shore Crab, or is there something else I can call you?
Call me Nudus. That's my name.
Well, Nudus, thanks for coming to our show today. We're very pleased to have you. How are you today?
I'm doing great, actually. I just molted my skin last week, and my new shell finally hardened, and I've got room to grow. I'm ready to breed and feed. Say, got any seaweed?
Well, sorry, chap, but maybe after the show. Now you say you molted? Can you tell us about that?
Man, that's personal. But I guess it's what I'm here for, so I'll tell you. You see, I'm an arthropod, and unlike you mammals, I don't have bones on the inside. I have an exoskeleton, which means all my hard parts are on the outside. It's great for protection, but the only problem is that it's hard for a hard shell to grow. So, as I grow bigger throughout my life, I periodically have to shed my outer shell so that my new skin can grow a bit. Kind of like when human kids that are always growing have to get new clothes.
Gee, so you basically have to climb out of your entire skin. That sounds a bit stressful, if you don't mind my saying so.
It's stressful. It hurts before it happens because it feels like you're wearing clothes that are too small. Basically, the back part of my carapace separates from the back of my bottom shell, and then I just slip out. But you see, since the outer shell is very hard, my inner shell has to be soft and flexible so that I can slide right out. That's all fine and dandy, but when you're a crab, having a hard shell is everything. Those first couple of hours after shedding, before your shell hardens, is crazy. When a crab's got no hard shell, he's totally vulnerable. You can't pinch, and it's about as good for protection as a pillow sack.
Good gravy. So how do you stay safe?
I do what I always do. I hide under rocks and just keep a low profile until my shell hardens. Know what I mean?
Indeed. So, is your shell hardened now?
Sure has. Now I'm ready to get back to my crabby business. I'm ready to search that rocky intertidal for all kinds of food and lady crabs.
Well, I'm sure the females just can't get enough of your gammy.
Oh, you betcha. I know what the ladies like.
I see, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But first, why don't you tell me about where you live?
Man, I'm from the rocky intertidal shores of Boiler Bay.
Wonderful. I believe some of our viewers should be familiar with that place.
Yeah. Humans always be coming down to my neighborhood and picking rocks and stuff and trying to pick me up like I'm some kind of science specimen. But they ain't got me, 'cause I'm a pincher. I'm big 5 centimeters wide crab now, and I've got pinchers to go with it. And I'm always ready to clamp down on anyone who tries to remove me from my rocky protection.
Sounds intimidating. I mean, is life in the rocky intertidal all that hard? What more could you ask for in such a productive place?
You humans are all the same. Don't you realize that I got a lot of meat on me? That means there's always going to be someone after you. When the tide is in, you got to worry about sculpins. And when the tide's out, you got seagulls. Because of all these guys, I got to do most of my feeding at nighttime and spend most of the day hiding under rocks. And it takes some nimble footing to survive out there. The other day, one of my fellow crabs got knocked by a wave and was unlucky enough to land right in the tentacles of the biggest Anthopleura zoanthella I've ever seen. He was trying for 20 minutes to get free while the anemone just slowly pulled him into his mouth.
Oh my,
Yeah, and if it wasn't bad enough having all this stuff trying to eat you all the time, sometimes we gotta deal with parasites. Nasty stuff. One of my other crab buddies, he got this isopod called Portunian conformis, living in his paravisceral cavity. That is nasty. Makes his life pretty hard.
Sounds pretty rough, but life in the intertidal can't be all that bad. I mean, aren't you pretty well adapted to your environment?
Yeah, I suppose I am. I mean, did you know that I can breathe air and in the water? I've got gills and lungs.
Impressive. So you're somewhat amphibious. I bet that comes in handy living in a place that's only underwater half the time.
You betcha, but it ain't all that simple. Living in such a crazy dynamic place means you gotta adapt not to just osmoregulate, but thermoregulate also. I spend a lot of my time in the shade on hot days, and will sometimes move back and forth between the water and the air just to control my body temperature.
So, Nudist, I'm dying to ask, what are your favorite foods?
Why, I'm glad you asked. You know, I'm mostly a primary consumer. I stand to tick to the fresh greens, like diatoms, but also sea lettuce and green algae. Every now and then I'll splurge on, some animal stuff like snail eggs or scavenged meat like dead fish. Actually, I have a pretty important job as a decomposer in the tide pools. I mean, not to toot my own horn or anything, but if it wasn't for me and my kin, the Rocky Intertidal would be a pretty messy place when organisms die. We like to keep things nice and tidy.
It's good to see an invertebrate that takes so much pride in his environment. Now, if you don't mind me asking, could you tell me about your love life?
Alright, you can call it that.
So, now that it's April, I understand this is a busy month for you shore crabs.
That's right.
So I understand that during the month of April is the month of the year that female crabs carry the most eggs. Do you find yourself busy wooing the females during this time?
That's right. I mean, ladies, they have eggs from January to July, but April is when they got the most. I mean, the younger lady crabs, although they're cute, they don't have as much egg as the big mamas, Some of the fine, productive ones can produce as much as 36,000 eggs.
So, do you have any children?
Of course I do. I mean, I'm not playing around here. I mean, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Spreading your seed so that future generations can propagate my genetic information in this never-ending game of evolution by natural selection. Man, I got millions of kids, probably. Well, at least I have had millions. I gotta admit, I don't really raise the kids. I just give Mama Crab my sperm, and I don't know what she does with them. I think they're plankton for a while, so I'm not sure. A lot of them probably get eaten. But hey, out of millions of them, some of them gotta make it, right? I'm not really a stay-at-home dad.
Well, it's not for everyone. I'm sure giving your children all those good genes will help them survive in the Rocky Intertidal.
Yeah, speaking of which, like you said, this is the most fertile month for my species. Man, I got to go. I don't have time to sit around and talk to you. I gotta be out there chasing down those honeys while the getting's good.
Of course, we wouldn't want to keep you from your biological imperative. Thank you so much for coming, and go out there and get him, Tiger. Well, folks, it seems that's all we have time for today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time on Carl's Intertidal Invertebrate Interview Talk Show. Next week, we will be interviewing the gumboat chitin. Until then, folks, this is your host, Carl Biederbeck, signing out. And remember, kids, don't feed the sea lion.